Hello, I'm Jonathan Bowman-Perks and welcome back to my favourite time of the week. And I'm very lucky to have Nousheh Paris, who is the Vice President for Foreign Exchange and a General Manager in American Express. Nousheh, welcome.
Thank you.
Great having you on the show. And tell me about sort of who's been inspiring for you? Who have been the inspiring leaders who've touched your life?
Well, I thought I'd first of all start with where my leadership journey started. And actually it all started given that I'm the eldest of 4 children.
Yep.
And during this period of time, there was a great degree of responsibility that you learn. And after that, I captained various sporting teams and I learned a lot about organisation during this time. And for the past 9 years, I've held various leadership roles at American Express, and it's been an experience that I've enjoyed enormously, and it's been very fulfilling.
Great. And in the inspiring people that have really touched your life, when we chatted before, you were mentioning your parents are quite inspiring to you. What would it be about your parents that was so inspiring and that's shaped the kind of leader you are today?
So as a child, I grew up in Iran in the late 70s, early 80s, and as you and maybe some of the listeners may recall, Iran was at war during that period of time. So what we would do is my mother would take us to school in the mornings, my dad would go to university where he lectured, and then in the afternoons we would all meet back at the house and pack up the car, drive up to the mountains and spend the night in the mountains.
Wow.
The reason we would do that is because there was very little or no light pollution there, so there was minimal chance of us being bombed. So what was incredible was that my parents still expected us to do our homework, we had our family chats, had a bite to eat, and then in the mornings we'd get in the car and drive back into the city and resume our with our daily lives. And my parents, I think, were hugely courageous and also inspirational during this period of time and the years that followed. And what I learned from them first and foremost was the importance of structure and being able to focus on areas that you can influence in your life, because that gives you a huge level of empowerment. The second thing was the importance of communication. As you can imagine, as children, we had lots of questions and they were always very honest, they were clear, they were consistent, and at the particularly uncertain times, that communication was frequent.
Yeah.
And then all this was wrapped up in their unwavering set of values and beliefs around respect, honesty, and I suppose that's probably the reason why I've stayed at Amex for so long.
Yeah, and that respect and honesty, it seems to be something that's very important to you, isn't it? You have a value set that you judge situations by. Do you want to just tell me what that is based on your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important regardless of who you interact with, is that level of respect and integrity is there within yourself for the other people as well.
Yeah, good. And then what about, we all make a lot of mistakes. I seem to be making an enormous number of mistakes. But what have you learned from when, as you're going along as a leader, things that didn't work, and how has that shaped you?
As an individual, I have come to learn that I have got a very clear set of principles. I'm very disciplined. I love structure, and that all wraps up with my values and beliefs on top of that as well. And that's the way I'm wired. Not everybody is wired up in the same way as I am, and I'm sure that some of the listeners will also reflect on times where maybe the way that you're wired is different to the way that the people that you work with or work for you. And where I've made mistakes in the past is to try and impose my set of principles upon other people. And what I have learned over the years is that it's important to be very flexible and to understand where the other person is coming from, and that's vitally important to be able to relate to people, to motivate them, and to also engage them.
Yeah, you just reminded me, I was having an interesting coaching session before this one, and we were talking about 2 things which really have helped this leader I was working with. One was being non-judgmental, and the second one was being non-attached. And I found it quite useful. So 2,000 years ago, the Stoics had some very good philosophies, and that was that control the controllables. I think you sort of alluded to this, that the things you can control your own thoughts and your own feelings, and you can control the actions that you take, but you can influence others, but you can't really control. And I think it was quite interesting that your upbringing was it biochemistry?
That's
you
right,
did?
that's what I
Birmingham,
studied, yes.
At Birmingham, I think. You did your MSc there. Very structured, very organised, and it has a logic about it. And of course, other people won't be like that. They'll be quite different. So how do you find you would adapt to people who are like different? Because we don't see other people as they are. We see them as we are, looking through our lenses. So how do you cope with people who are sort of more free flow and less organised and a bit chaotic?
Actually, this is something I have worked on a lot as a leader over the past, 9-10 years. And what I have landed up with is for me to come to peace with the fact that I have got my set of principles, values, beliefs, and the people that I work with is really important for them to match that. However, to be really open and actually proactively seek that level of what I think of diversity. Diversity to me, the way that I am, my skill set, my background, but also diversity amongst the broader team as well. I think that's really important to have that. I think it's in situations like that that you get innovation, because I can't innovate if I am super structured and I've got my rigor. I need someone who's got that free flow thinking, for instance, that you mentioned.
Well, it's interesting. You listened to the other podcast, Philip Snare, there's the CMO of Facebook for EMEA. Philip was saying that you've got to have your value set, and if you find that your value set and the value set of the organisation or the people you're with are so misaligned, you're going to have to make a call. And I think it's so nice that in American Express, you found an organisation with very strong value set, and you have very strong value set. It's a very good alignment. How about top tip? What would your top tip be that you'd leave the listeners with?
I would say within yourself and within your team, always seek curiosity and actually do something with that curiosity. I think that's so important to invite that. I think that's where you get creativity from the team. And I mentioned diversity before. A lot of people think about diversity with a gender lens. However, I think diversity comes from all sorts of different aspects. It could be maybe educational background, or maybe no education at all. It could be experience in a certain field, or no experience in that field that you're working in today. So that would be my top tip. I think
it's a really good top tip, and I think this whole area of respecting diversity, trying to get innovation, learning from other people that you're with. Someone once said to me, everybody you meet has something to teach you, if only you'd listen. Everybody. And sometimes I learn from people, I go, I'm never going to do that, but at least I've learned something about it. Nousheh, thank you very much indeed. It's been great having you on the show, and I look forward to our Inspiring Leadership Extra session in a moment. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.